get ready for the meeting. Today is April 18th at 6 o'clock. We're meeting here at the Addison Township offices, 1440 Rochester Road in Addison Township. Would you all stand for the pledge, please? Ed, you're a veteran. Could you start, please?
I will. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing.
Lord, we all join together asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and allow us to grow closer to our community with our decisions. With Easter just passing, let us never forget its true meaning and let us be thankful for your sacrifice for us. We pray that you put your hands over Ukraine and protect its people from the evil that comes from the horrors of war. In the Lord's name we pray, amen and amen.
We have roll call, please.
Here. Jacob Newman.
Here.
Lynn Garrett. Here. Ed Redfield.
Here.
Lloyd Fisher. Here. Bennett Cousin. Supervisor Pearson.
Here. Is a comment form? Any announcements? No? Department reports, as usual, they're always available in my office. Just contact myself or my deputy, Jamie Martell, to make those available. Petitions?
No.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
I would like to add number 8, authorization for park design with PEA as number 8, please. Park design.
Park design, number 8. Okay.
I'll make the motion with you as petition number 8, park design.
Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. We'll have to have a roll call, please.
Jacob Newman.
Yes.
Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Lynn Garrett. Yes. Ed Redfield.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now approval of the agenda. Is that-
The consent agenda?
Well, we just approved just the addition?
No, we approved the agenda as amended.
Okay, then we'll be fine. Okay, we'll go on to consent agenda.
Okay, we have 3 short ones. Approval of the March minutes, approval of the March bills as paid, resolution adopting the participation of 2022 West Nile Virus Prevention Reimbursement Program.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Not hearing it, then roll call, please.
Ed Redfield.
Yes.
Lynn Garrett. Yes. Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Jacob Newman.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to 2. Number 2 is these are the public hearings, resolutions for special assessment districts. The first one we have is Valentine. This is the time when we let the public speak on the SAD, that's a special assessment district. We have 2 of them. Valentine Road and Court, Birch Grove Road and Court. The Township Board received petitions signed by more than 50% of the record holders based on the tax rules of Oakland County constituting more than 50% of the total road frontage. The proposed SAD for $400 per parcel for each of the next 5 years to cover maintenance and or improvements and a 5% collection fee for the township. And proper notice of the hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader and mailed by first-class mail to each property owner within the proposed SAD. I verified and determined the petitions also, I think we're on for 2-Van Trail has an SAD, was properly signed by the record owners of the 20 parcels with 19 out of 30 standing based on the tax rolls, or 63%. Okay, I'm looking at you. Good. both of these. Okay. Public hearing, Bert's run on all of those. She's got only one here. Anyways, verified two-van trail. Is two-van trail on this one too, or is not? That's a second request. Okay.
Use it would be Valentine Court, Valentine Road, Birch Grove
Oh,
Road,
okay.
and Birch Grove Court.
Correct, okay, but I don't have the proper, I think it's the
Fourth
SAD.
whereas refers to two van, the fourth whereas.
I'm sorry.
It does.
Should that
We
be
need to-
struck?
Yes, and we can get to that after the public hearing. There's a typo in the resolution.
Okay. Anyways, 19 out of 30 signatures, is that correct on that one?
Yes, and the
Okay.
63% is still correct.
It's
just
still
the name.
correct,
Yes.
63% of the attached petition for the board to determine the same. This is the first public hearing for this, and this is where we listen. This is where we open up the hearing just for the public. We do not comment or anything like that. And at this time, I will open up the hearing at, consider it to be 6:05. If anybody would like to speak on the SADs for Valentine Court, Birch Grove Court, please come forward. I'll ask one more time, if we have anybody that would like to speak on the SAD for Valentine Court, Birch Grove Court also, and the roads. Not hearing any, I'd like to close the hearing at 6:06. I'm looking for a motion to move the resolution establishing the private road special assessment district for Valentine Court, Birch Grove Road, and Birch Grove Court.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any further comments from the board? Not hearing any, can we please have a roll call on that?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gardner. Yes. Ed Brightcott.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Roy Fisher.
Yes.
Yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that's so, resolution so moved. Okay, we'll go on to the next one, which is going to be Lena Hill, Burn Hill. Township Board received petition signed by more than 50% of the record owners based on the tax rule in local county, constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of the proposed SAD, requesting the amount of $280 per parcel for each year of the next 5 years to cover maintenance improvements and a 5% collection fee. Proper notice of the hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader and mailed by first-class mail to each of the property owners within the proposed SAD. It was verified that the petitions for Lena Hill and Burns Hill SAD were properly signed by the record owners of 15 parcels with 17 out of 22 signatures based on the tax rules of 77%, and attached the petitions to the board to determine the same. At this time, once again, this is where we listen. This is to do with Lena Hill and Burnside. Is it Burns Hill or Burnside? Can't remember.
Burns Hill.
Burns Hill. We'll open this one at, consider this 6:07. If anybody would like to speak on the Lena Hill and Burns Hill SADs, Special Assessment District, yes, come forward. Just state your name for us, please.
Sure. Name is Wade Tomlinson, 120 Lena Hill.
Yes.
I've got some questions to the board. I'm kind of new here in the township, actually since they're.
This is where we listen. Okay.
Right. And when I first came out here, our road was graded pretty decently, plowed well. But since then, it's gone downhill, in my opinion. So I would like to know what the specifications are for grading and keeping the roads in shape. Because I don't think they're found the proper specifications for grading the road. They'll come in on the Thursday and grade it, and on Monday, there's potholes again. And that's wrong. So I'd like to see the specifications of what they're doing, and I'd like to challenge.
Oh, okay.
So I would like to work with a copy of the specifications of what they're doing for a property.
Okay, this is where we listen, but I would suggest that you get a hold of the treasurer or the person that's passing the petition and ask those questions to them. Because this has nothing to do with the township. This is a private special assessment district.
But we're paying taxes to We're paying the on the taxes.
On a special assessment district, what happens is, we just collect the money, but we give it to the person who runs that road, and it's handled by them. So you need to talk to your own people on the road who's handling that.
Was there ever?
And I'm not really supposed to be talking back, this is where, and your questions are noted. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to speak on that? Not hearing any, I'd like to close the hearing, we'll call that 6:09. I'm looking for a motion to move the resolution establishing a private road special assessment district for Lena Hill and Burns Hill.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes.
This is one that we normally hold the SAD and charge the 10%. And I'm just realizing that, so we should check on
Do
that.
we,
They have the box checked for the 5%, but I should reach out and just ensure that that's their actual intention. on this.
that's how the petition was passed, though, 5%.
Right.
So apparently they only want to have us collect the money and give it to them. So it's 5% on the first reading. Okay, yes,
Oh, are you taking comments right now?
we can talk, yes.
Oh, I just wanted for Mr. Tomlinson's benefit, there was an estimate for the grading and the plowing and stuff, and it was from Brian Klosterman. So if that's the person maybe that they need to reach out to, that's who I'm assuming lives on that street.
Okay.
So
Just wanted to note that.
Yeah, yeah, we can give them that information
Yeah, well.
right after, yeah. Okay, so we closed the public hearing, and we had a motion and a second.
Wasn't a motion yet, but I was about to make a motion, we move the resolution for Lena Hill and Burns Hill.
I just don't think his question was answered. He wanted to know if the township had engineering specification for roads, and the answer is that we don't engineer roads.
That's what I was trying to convey, is that the SAD is a private SAD, and the township does not grade the roads. We don't have a road grader, we don't have a DPW, so it's done by a private individual who they choose, so.
I'll second your motion.
So we have a motion and a second. Any comments further? Could we have roll call, please?
Karen Darrow. Yes. Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Graham.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, so the resolution is approved. Let me see what else we have now. Now we have Pine Crest, Pine Cone, Pine Bluff, and Mac. The Township Road received petitions signed by more than 50% of the record owners based on the tax roll of Oakland County constituting more than 50% of the total frontage proposed for an SAD. Mac Road is not on there.
There's one parcel that's on there.
Their property butts to the side.
There's one parcel that actually has a map on it.
Okay, thank you. The township road, like I said, received constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of proposed SAD requesting the amount of $600 per parcel for each of the next 5 years, except for parcel 0523451-015 to be assessed at $227 to cover maintenance or improvement and a 5% collection fee. Proper notice of the hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader, mailed by first-class mail to each of the property owners within the proposed SAD. It was determined that the petitions for Pine Crest, Pine Cone, Pine Bluff Court, and Mac SAD was properly signed by the requested record owners of 16 parcels with 14 out of 23 signatures based on the tax rolls, or 61% of the people living on the roads. I'll open up this public hearing, and we'll consider this one at 6:14. So if anybody on those roads would like to speak? We'll listen. Anybody on any of those roads would like to speak? Not hearing any. I'll consider this, we'll close the hearing at 6:15. I'm looking for a motion once again to move the resolution establishing SAD for those roads.
I'll move that we move the resolution for Pinecrest, Pinecone, Pine Bluff Court, and Mac.
I'll support.
Any further comments from the board? Not hearing any, we please roll call.
Moody.
Yes.
Karen Gagel.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Edward Go.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. The resolution is so moved. Okay, now, we're on, these are the long ones. The 2D, which is, these are all gonna cover Townsend. This is for the gypsy, we can't call them gypsy moss anymore.
No, man.
Spongy moss or
No,
something.
man. Malls.
We already had the stuff ready with.
Okay, so we are gonna handle Townsend, Hagerman, Spruce, Oak Trail, Piney Hill, White Pine, Moffett, Jewel, Army Hills, Adante, Nutcracker, Bar, Snowflake, Court, Drainer, Bar, Apache, Cherokee, Shoshone, Addison Hills Court, Farmwork. This is the second hearing for the gypsy moss, or spongy moss SADs. These were proposed by residents that took it upon themselves to both qualify the areas and get petitions for the areas to help with the mitigation of the spongy moss in the area. Many have said they didn't want to go through this next year, so we're trying to see if this will fix the problem. In the proposed districts, the township received petitions signed by more than 50% of the record owners, constituting more than 50% of the total parcels and land area. Township residents are requesting up to $175 per acre for 1 year to pay for the gypsy spongy moth aerial spraying with a 5% collection fee for the township. The township will adjust that fee once we receive the final invoice, and the rate will probably go way down. Proper notice of the hearing was established in the Oxford Leader, and the notice was issued by first-class mail to each of the property owners within the proposed SAD with a 5% administrative fee. The SADs participating in the county MSU will be participating with the county and MSU and will be eligible for county credit on the SAD. The township will also has up to 50% credit for eligible SADs. This is an aerial spray company which works very closely with MSU, and so they will give us a timeline when they're going to be spraying for the gypsy moss. The caterpillars, there's a certain little window there that they have to spray for. Anyways, what we'll do is, I guess we'll go through these. I have to go through each one of these separately. Okay. It's gonna be a little bit, so. First of all, I'll open up the hearing for the Townsend Road. Anybody who would like to speak on the Townsend SAD, we'll open this meeting at, we'll call it 6:18. If there's anybody on the Townsend SAD would like to speak, please come forward. I'll ask one more time, anybody on the Townsend SAD, please come forward. Not hearing any, I'd like to close that hearing at 6:19. And I'll be willing to hear a motion on that one.
I'll make that motion to move the resolution to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation and land in Addison Township for Townsend. Support.
Okay, any further comments? Not hearing any, I guess we'll have to have a roll call on that, please.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Karen Gagos.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution will move. Now we'll go into Hagerman, open up the hearing at 6:19. This is for the Hagerman SAD. If anybody would like to speak on the Hagerman SAD, please come forward. I'll ask one more time. This is the Hagerman SAD. I would like to then close the meeting. We'll call it at 6:20. Any questions from the board? Looking for a motion then.
You want me to make it? I'll make a motion. Good. To establish special assessment district and requesting the township approval revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for land area within Addison Township, Hagerman Road.
Support.
Any further comments? Not hearing any, roll call please.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gagos.
Yes.
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that resolution is so moved. Now we'll go on to Spruce, Oak Trail, Piney Hill, White Pine. I'll open this hearing. Call it at 6:20. If anybody, those roads, Spruce, Oak Trail, Piney Hill, White Pine, we'll open the meeting at 6:20. If you'd like to come forward, please come forward and speak. I'll ask the second time, if anybody on Spruce, Oak Trail, Piney Hill, White Pine would like to speak, please come forward. I'd like to then close the meeting at 6:21. Any questions from the board? Will that be open for a motion?
I'll move a resolution to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for land area within Addison Township, Spruce Street, Oak Trail, Piney Hill Court, White Pine Drive.
I'll second.
Not hearing any comments, and roll call please.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Gagos.
Yes.
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that resolution is so moved. We'll move on to Moffett and Ewell. This time I'd like to open that hearing up at 6:21. Anybody on Moffett or Ewell? We'll open up the hearing. If anybody would like to speak on that SAD, please come forward. I'll ask one more time, anybody on Moffett or Ewell, if they'd like to come forward and speak. Not hearing any, I'd like to close the meeting at 6:22. I'll be open for a motion.
It's your time, board.
I'll move the resolution to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for land area within Addison Township for Moffett and Ewell Road.
I'll second.
Any comments? Not hearing any, could we have roll call please?
Karen Gagos.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, that resolution is so moved. And that was the Moffett and Ewell, right? So I don't know where I lose that down.
You did
So
that.
now we're on Harmony Hills, Adante Court, Nutcracker Court, Bar Road, Snowflake Court, and 3316 Drainer. I'd like to open this hearing at 6:22. If anybody would like to speak, please come forward and speak. If anybody would like to speak on those, please come forward. This is Harmony Hills, Adante Court, Nutcracker Court, Bar Road, Snowflake Court, and 3316 Drainer. I'd like to close the meeting then at 6:23.
I'll move the resolution to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for Harmony Hills area.
Are you gonna include the rest?
She's an area.
Oh, that area, okay.
I move the resolution.
I'll support.
We have motion and support. Any further comments? Roll call please.
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Gagos.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, the resolution is so moved. Now we'll move on to Drainer Road. I'd like to open the hearing at 6:23 for Drainer Road. If somebody would like to speak, please come forward. state your name and if you live in that area.
Well, it's Jerry Reeves, I live on Manor Road, right across the road from Pauline. Okay, a number of questions. Who requested this special assessment district? Who initiated the petition? It's my understanding that you can speak at this one, at this hearing, correct?
No,
This isn't correct. I told Jerry wrong, I see.
no, we
Oh,
don't speak,
okay.
no, I'm sorry, we have to.
My
listen.
misunderstanding.
It's- it's-
I'm not misunderstanding. I told you
The
wrong.
reason is it's your public hearing, not ours. You know what I mean? You
Okay.
get to speak.
So we don't get any answers. All right. Last month at the meeting, there was a young lady that pointed out that it takes 2 sprayings to be effective. You're only doing 1 spraying, not effective. The establishment of this special assessment district appears to be arbitrary. How it was determined has not been explained, is not being explained. You include my property, but you don't include the adjacent property, that being Markwood. And you should be concerned about that. Okay? So, it is, the question that I have, I guess I'll have to dig it up. However, I want this organization, this board, to remove my 20 acres from the Drainer Road Special Assessment District. I do not wish to have these toxic chemicals sprayed on my property and then being forced to pay for something I don't need, I don't want, and it's toxic chemicals. All right? Thanks for listening. When
Thank
do
you.
I get answers? When can I come and get answers?
Well, you can come see me anytime in my office. Like I said, these are special assessment districts. These are made up by the citizens in that area. Okay, so that's where they're made up from. But you can come in and see me anytime in my office.
Okay.
Thank you.
You won't tell me what
this
court
is-
district you're in?
This is a public hearing right now. This is where we listen. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Anybody else on Drainer Road would like to speak? Okay, then at this time, I'd like to close the meeting at 6:26. Any questions from the board? Entertain a motion.
I can make a motion to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for land area within Addison Township, Drainer Road.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
We do have a second. Any discussion from the board?
I'll just make one comment,
Oh,
just
yes.
for the public's knowledge here. The name of the circulator was James Rowe in your area,
He didn't initiate it, he just carried it around.
so I just wanted to state that it was part of the documents.
Thank you. Okay, roll call please.
Linda Garrett,
Yes.
Karen Guyval,
Yes.
Ed Rickville,
Yes?
Jacob Henry,
Yes.
Roy Fisher,
Yes.
Ben, yes, Supervisor Tucson.
Yes, resolution so moved. Now we'll move on to, just check and see here. Okay, now we're on to Bar Road, Apache, Cherokee, Shoshone Court. At this time, I'd like to open up the hearing at 6:28. Anybody like to speak on the SAD of Bar Road, Apache, Cherokee, Shoshone Court? Please come forward. I'll ask one more time, if anybody would like to speak on that SAD. Not hearing any. I'd like to close the hearing at 6:29. Any questions on the board? Not hearing any?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to establish a special assessment district. Request the township improvement revolving funds for a gypsy moth mitigation for land area within Addison Township, Bar Road area.
I'll
We have a
support.
second. We have support. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Karen Gottle.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Rickville.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution so moved. Only two more to go. Right, we're getting there. Addison Hills Court. I'd like to open up the hearing at 6:29. Anybody from Addison Hills Court on the SAD, please come forward.
Hi, Robert Swickel. I reside at 2428 Addison Hills Court. I initially signed a petition for this SAD back maybe early March or something. But on a letter dated April 7th, I got a couple days later from the Michigan State University Extension speaking to this program. In paragraph 2, they talk about the program costs we shared by Oakland County and the local municipality. And then it says in highlighted letters, there are no additional costs to you as property owner. And in light of this letter, I'm wondering why do we have to have a special assessment district if it's going to be free? That's all.
Thank
Give
you.
a copy of the letter if you need it.
We understand that it's been sent out, but it's not what it's saying, so, but anyways, we're only listening, okay?
Okay, it says it's free, but it's not free. Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
Government at work.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak, please?
I'd like to get a copy of it if I can.
Anybody else?
I can try that.
Thank you. I'd like to close the hearing at 6:30. Any comments from the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to establish a special assessment district and request in the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for land area, Addison Hills Court.
I'll second.
No further comments? Could I have roll call, please?
Ed Rickville.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Karen Gottle.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution so move. This is the last one now, Farmwork Trail. Anybody at Farmwork Trail would like to speak? We'll open the hearing at 6:30. Anybody from Farmwork Trail that would like to speak, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Michelle Kasnick and I reside at 2900 Farmwork. We've been here for 22 years. I would like to begin, I have a letter from a neighbor. She's unable to be here today, she's out of state, but she wanted to, for me to put on record that she is against the gypsy moth spraying. The gypsy moths contain, the spray contains an active ingredient called BTK. There are no long-term studies on the health risks of BTK to humans or animals. There are short-term studies that are people who have health risks. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Short-term studies that are a risk for people with health issues. Studies show that BTK only slows the risk. It just delays the moth migration. It is not guaranteed that spraying any amount will kill the caterpillars. Spraying the BTK is only delaying it. Again, it's not preventing it. As a homeowner, I would like to decide which insecticides I use on my property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
My name is Alan Kelman. I'm the president of the Homeowners Association at Farmwork Trail. And at the last meeting in which I appeared, it was suggested that we hadn't given proper notice and the opportunity for our neighbors to learn about the program and what it was going to entail. That was suggested. In any event, I did call a special meeting, and I had Rob from Aura attend the meeting, make a presentation about what the spraying was going to involve and entail, and answer any questions that came up, including one spray versus two sprays, the toxicity issue, which I'm not going to get into other than to say that it was addressed at the meeting. We have an overwhelming number of neighbors and property owners who supported it from Farmwork Trail, and there's been no change in the vote as presented to the township.
Thank you. Anybody else from Farmwork would like to speak?
Hi, Greg Addison, 29 Farmwork Trail. So I'm against spraying as well. There's a few things, the call that Alan's talking about, with the pilot of the helicopter. I had asked if there's been any studies with, you know, algae or anything that could grow on buildings or your roof, you know, because it's an organic compound. And if it's gonna be sprayed, you know, through the air, can it collect any kind of dust or anything like that? And you have some, you know, nasty looking shingles with marks or whatever. So he didn't have any information on that. But what I was looking at was trees, like the hardwood trees, cherry trees or apple trees, things like that. Trees with a diameter of 10 inches or larger, the mortality rate of those is 6%. And then of those trees, if there's 50% defoliation within that same fall, it'll already be 100% foliated again. So I don't see the reward with the spraying. You know, and then I guess there were the issues maybe with the roof. I was also reading that, you know, beekeepers have concern with the spray as well. I don't know if we have beekeepers on our street, but if they're concerned, why shouldn't we be concerned? So I just wanted to mention that stuff. And then just make it noted that I object to the spraying too.
Thank you. Anybody else from Farmwork Trail that would like to speak? I'll ask one more time. Anyone else from Farmbrook? Okay, I'd like to close the hearing. We'll call it at 6:36. Any questions from the board?
I would just like to thank the president of the association for having that meeting so that it gave the opportunity for many people to understand what was going on. So thank you.
Well, I'm looking for then a motion.
I'll make the motion to establish a special assessment district and requesting the township improvement revolving funds for gypsy moth mitigation for the land area within Farmbrook Trail.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Not hearing any, roll call please.
Karen Geiler.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yep.
Lenny Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution is so moved. We'll move on to item number 3 is the fire department. They want to purchase a 2022 command truck purchase from Winslow Chevrolet for $40,000, $483.95 from 213-336-975. And they also want to waive the purchasing order. Oh, that's for the next one. So the fire chief attached a letter, I think everybody has it, that the the fire vehicle has 65,000 miles on it. It's a 2016. The proposed purchase is through the county cooperative, which we get the best price that the county negotiates, so we don't have to renegotiate. I think this is pretty much a simple thing. It's replacing an old command vehicle with a new one. And the price is pretty reasonable considering today. Plus, I believe in the letter, it says that the one that we're getting rid of will probably get a good return on the resale. So, does anybody have any questions on this?
Are you sure we don't have to waive the purchasing on this one?
Not if it's through the Oakland County.
Oakland County?
Yeah.
They've already kind of did that for us. Was that a budgeted item?
Yes, it was,
Thank you.
actually.
I have a question. The total of 40,000, is that already deducting the trade-in, or is the
No.
trade-in gonna go back?
That's gonna be additional, the trade-in will knock off of the $40,000, so.
Perfect.
Thank you.
That's what I say, the used one only has 65,000 miles on it, and it's a Tahoe, Chevy Tahoe. It should bring pretty good.
It does have several miles, 60,000 miles of our dirt road.
Well,
So it's got 400,000.
what you're saying is the buyer should beware. Okay.
I think it's important that he has a dependable truck since he's always on the go. I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 command truck purchase from Wenzel Chevrolet for up to $40,483.95 from 213-336-975-000.
Okay, on the second part, now this is where we will have to waive, I think, the ordinance, but this is for.
I've got a question.
Oh.
Do you need a roll call vote?
Yes,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
who offered support?
I did.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, we need roll call on that, please.
Ed Brinkfield.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, okay, now we'll move on, part B of that, was waive purchasing order purchase of 16 Scott X3 Pro 4.5. Are these supercharged, self-contained
Sounds like it's
heating
got
apparatus,
units.
Addison necessary components for $143,654 from the MES Douglas Safety Systems account 213-336-975. Yes.
Normally, I'd let the chief just sit there, but I think it would be a good idea if the chief would explain what the SCBA's are and why he needs them.
All right, so the SCBA is our breathing apparatus for inside of structure fires, probably one of the most important components that we have in the fire service. It allows us to, first of all, put out the fire and rescue anybody inside the house, right, get those bad atmospheres. Those SCBA's, unfortunately, the brand that we normally have is ISI. We've had 20 of those air packs. About 12 years ago, we actually got a grant and we were able to update those packs 12 years ago. Unfortunately, those packs do have a shelf life and they are starting to deteriorate, things and issues with them. Unfortunately, ISI does not make those air packs anymore, so we're really kind of bummed. We really like those air packs, so we had to go with the next best one, and we've researched it all summer long, what pack we wanted to do. Of course, I always outlay this on the 10-year budget, and this was the year to do that. So we prepared last year and looked at different manufacturers. Really, the only two good ones out there are Scott and MSA. And Scott, we went with Scott because of the features they have on there and because of all the surrounding departments here do have that pack. So we're able to have interoperability with bottle switching out and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I know it's very expensive. Again, I want to tell the board we do have 20 of those packs right now. We're only going to go down to 16, or only purchase 16 right now because that's the only spots we have for those, and any more than that is just unnecessary.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
I'll move to purchase the 16 Scott X3 Pro 4.5 self-contained breathing apparatus packs and the necessary components for up to $143,654 from MES Douglas Safety Systems from account 213-336-975-000.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Does somebody make a motion to waive the purchase?
Yeah.
No.
We're on that.
So I'd like to make that motion that we waive.
It's the
Or-
snow
or
that's got
spend some
everybody
money.
confused today, okay, this is
I
April.
support that.
Okay, so are you waiving the ordinance?
Yes.
Ed is,
and
yes,
she
and I
supported
support
it.
it,
Okay, so,
but I'm not reading that motion.
okay. So we have a motion to waive the ordinance and we have a second. Does anybody on the board have a question on that? We have roll call, please.
Yes, Karen Arnold.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brinkfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now we'll go on to purchasing.
Since our clerk refuses to make a motion again, word for word, I'll second it.
Okay, so we have the motion to purchase the supercharged units, and we have a second. Any further comments on the board? Not hearing any. We have roll call on that, please.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gabel.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. And that passes, okay. Move on to item number 4. We got ballot proposals. Ballot proposals, 22-1, resolution authorizing the fire department operating an advanced life support ambulance service millage. Again, the fire chief addressed this concern and simply put, if we want to continue with advanced life support, which is extremely important in this area here because we're too far away from an hospital, advanced life support, when the ambulance shows up, they can do everything in that ambulance that's necessary, and they save someone's life. That's why we have the advanced life support people. But there are some new mandates from the county that we have to meet, and to meet those, we have to now have 2 people on the ambulance at every time. What we used to do is send one out with the advanced life support, and then another one would show up at the scene, and we were in good shape. They no longer will do that. I have gotten exemptions now, I think, gosh, about 3 or 4 years, 5 years of exemptions, and when I finally called this time to the county board there, they won't give me any more exemptions. We're the last township that had the exemptions. We now have to comply, and they only gave us the exemptions because they knew we were the smaller township, and it's very costly, but we've slowly built up to that. But, as you know, I was the deputy sheriff here for this area for 30-some years, and we used to have where we would load somebody up and go as far as we could down Rochester Road before an advanced life support from the hospital would come out. We would switch the patient in the middle of the snowstorm on Rochester Road because that's the law. And we couldn't transport all the way to the hospital if an advanced life support showed up. And it wasn't very effective. So now we have a life support system here. Everything is done right here in the ambulance. So we definitely don't want to go backwards. You know, when you're having a heart attack or something, these guys can do everything that they can do in the hospital for you right in the ambulance. So that's why this is being addressed. So if we want to continue that life support, the standards have to be met. Chief gave us an outlook, and we'll be short if we don't act. If you have any questions of the chief, does anybody have any questions about the advanced life support?
I think it's a really good thing, and I would move the resolution authorizing fire department operating an advanced life support ambulance services millage.
Support.
Anybody have any questions? Or, yes?
I just have a question. So in the millage proposal, it says that the new millage shall be levied for 3 years. The additional, it says the new 1.5 millage is estimated to raise an additional $630,730 in the first year levy. So then, I guess my question is, what do those funds go toward? Like when we're raising it, it's an extra amount of money, right?
Yeah, it's gonna actually increase it. It's going mostly to the manpower that we had to add on. You guys remember about 1.5 years ago in January, we asked for 2 people, realizing that we wouldn't have enough money. We were working off of fund balance money for that and continued on until the millage was passed. We were able to operate the fire department with our fund balance and not generating any money or asking for any money out of the general fund. So now it's time we have to get some millage to make those demands of those 2 other people on the payroll, really, and all the supporting line items that go with it, and everything's going up with inflation. Good question.
Just so you guys understand, it's the Oakland County Medical Control Authority that's mandating this, and we will comply or else we will not have life support. So, anyways, anybody else have any
I
questions?
just got a comment. I think you introduced it very well because it opens the door to people know that it's not really our choice. It's mandated.
Everybody in Oakland County has to adhere to that.
Is there a motion? Do we need a motion? I'll make a motion.
It was
This way, you made it.
And we had a second? Any further comment from the board? Roll call, please.
Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Linda Garrett. Yes. Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Jacob Ruby.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution is so moved. Now we'll go on to B. There's a 22-2 resolution authorizing the police protection and police operations millage. This millage expired in 2021. This is another important thing. As we know, we want to always be safe out here, and we want to make sure that we keep the sheriff's office out here. They're slowly increasing coverage throughout the township. We're trying to add more manpower. I don't like to always say this, but at one time we only had one man on every shift, and we like all our deputies to go home too safely. So one man, I work this area. Sometimes I was the only man for 2 townships. That's 72 square miles for one man. And so my nearest backup was Rochester, or at that time Lake Orion. Sometimes you had to be a real diplomat waiting for your backup to show up. So anyways, we're slowly bringing our people up, so there's always going to be 2 men on a shift, so that they always have a partner. But as we move forward, we want to renew the millage so that we can keep the coverage that we have. And so we're just renewing the millage as what it was previously. So anybody have any questions on this?
Yes. Motion that we approve the millage 3.4874. Renew it. Make sure everybody knows it's a renewal.
I'll support.
And we do have support. I just want to add that if you saw the listing, I think we were one of the top 15 safest places in Michigan, Addison Township. So we do have a very good response with the sheriff's office. Oakland Township, same way. They are one of the safest places, state of Michigan. So between the 2 townships, I think they do a very good job. Any other questions?
I think it's something that we need to do, because even though all of us here probably dread having to raise taxes or pay taxes, but I think when you have a medical emergency or something's happening at your house and you need to call the sheriff's department, you really need to have them here. So I think it's good that we're moving forward with both of those.
Okay, do we have a motion on this already? We had a second on it already. No further comments? Could we have a roll call, please?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Jacob Ruby.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. This is so moved. Okay, this one is a resolution allowing North Oakland Transportation Authority renewal millage for the purpose of supplementing existing capital and operating expenses for NOVA. That's the North Oakland Transportation Authority. You see their buses everywhere. Our seniors depend on them. Our people with disabilities and our low-income people depend on them. You'll see that they run thousands of runs a year in Addison Township. And we all know that we will get older, and if some people on those buses lose their eyesight or whatever, they can still get to their doctor's office, whatever. We do have a way of getting people where they need to go for shopping. If we don't have NODA, we have no way of getting any of our people who have disabilities or elderly to where they need to be to stay living in their homes out here. So anyways, for me, I believe this is a very important one. Once again, this is a renewal. Does anybody have any questions on
Got
this?
a comment.
Yes.
For the people that don't know, I'm on the NODA board. We purchased a lot of new buses. We purchased the cute little trolley that goes from, we didn't purchase it, it was donated from Oxford to Orion and back. Everybody's got to try to use this at least once. This is really a lot of fun. We have done a remarkable job of trying to keep the budget in check. And just to see a renewal instead of addition is quite remarkable. So that being said.
I think we're running somewhere around 21, 22 buses a day. and they're hitting all of our residents, and as you know, NODA covers Orion, Oxford, and Addison Township, but we will transport all the way down to the hospitals and everything like that in the area, and the doctor's appointments out of this area. So we go all the way over to Romeo for doctor's appointments and everything, so it's a very important thing. So
I'll make that motion, we renew the millage for the NODA.
I'll support, but I did just want to point out, because I'm not sure that it's clear, that we are only voting on putting these on the ballot. We do not have the power to tax you on them. So that's all that we're voting on today.
correct. Okay, any other further comments? Roll call, please.
Rita Garrett.
Yes.
Jacob Mayhew.
Yes.
Ed Brightman.
Yes.
Ken Dodgen.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution so moved. These will be on the ballot coming up. Like I said, they're renewals. Okay, now we're on to number 5. These are the ARPA funds. We've gone over this several times, trying to figure out where we want to use the funding for the ARPA funds. And what I'm suggesting right now, as a township supervisor, I'd like to allocate $128,000 to playground equipment and improve the township park. That's right over here. I'd like to add about $7,000 on that for grant writing, so that we could get some applications into the state, because we can get funding from them for some grants on that. I'd also like to allocate $48,840 to dock at Lake George, $50,000 to broadband, $200,000 to the remodeling of fire station number 2, which is right in front of the township here. I'd like to allocate $128,000 to the library. That's equal to the fixing up of the township park. I'd like to allocate $128,000 for new construction. We'll make sure that it's, the agreement is through our legal department. So hopefully that helps the library with what they need. $4,000 for the sound system in the boardroom here. I'd like to allocate $50,000 for the resurfacing of the parking lot with the striping and adding more parking right across from the front here by the gazebo. And I'd also like to allocate $30,000 to the Pollyant Trail, and that's for seed money, because the Pollyant Trail, the other townships are also putting money in so that they can get some grant money for that also. And then legal or auditor fees for all the projects of about $3,000, which comes out to $648,840, and I'm just gonna pass these. You can pass these out. 2, 3. Let's see. Anyways, those are just my recommendations, looking at everything, and I'll open it up to discussion.
I've got a comment.
Yes.
I believe, am I correct in this? We had to make a decision tonight because April the 30th is our deadline. They extended it.
Yeah. So far it's April 30th, right?
As far as I know, it's
April 30th just is the first filing deadline, but we haven't expended any money, so.
Oh, we won't be spending, we have to file
Right, but
by April
the
30th.
reporting is just we have not spent any money.
Yeah, so we just needed to have the numbers in front of us tonight's meeting. Correct?
No,
This is for discussion,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
for everybody to.
We've been going over these and nobody's having any new ideas, so it's time to.
I've got a question for, in the playground and equipment improved Township Park, do we have enough money in there when they're doing the parking lot to combine two and get a tennis court put in for the adults? Do we have room for that?
Can I answer that one?
Well,
We're talking later about having somebody come out and actually do a plan for that park up there.
Yes.
And that was one of my questions I was gonna throw out there was, this 128 is probably gonna be seed money, and then the 7,000 could be for the plan, and I wanted to somehow get like a track, and then there's an area empty that we could do something for the adults, or we can expand the playground equipment. It's like, what's your pleasure? So that's coming up, but that was how Bruce is dividing up
Yeah.
the money. And this 128 is gonna be used as money to apply for the grants.
It was just brought to my attention, it would be nice to have an adult tennis court while the kids are playing. The adults could be out there exercising as well.
Or
So
volleyball.
I appreciate you keeping that in mind.
What, we could have a basketball court there, we could have a tennis
You
court,
got
we
it.
could have
All good.
a track around the outside, there's many things I'm looking at. Yes,
Are we actually envisioning a old style jungle gym playground equipment?
So again, we haven't gotten this far, so while I'm at MTA, I'm gonna be pulling a lot of things, but so far, we can get equipment for as little as 100,000, which is not a whole lot, and then they go up to 300,000. So that's what I'm saying, this 128 is only going to be grant money, because to build that up to specs is going to cost a lot more than what ARPA has even given us.
Right, and I wish I would have known you were working on this, because I've actually been talking with SEMCOG about some potential grants, but I would really like to see a nice play structure out there for the kids. That's getting a lot of use out there. On the sunny days, there's always kids out there, which makes me very happy to see, but I'd like to see an actual play structure. And then what do we envision for the broadband?
The broadband, since we are not included in the first round of, how would you say, study, we still need to have seed money. So we have to have something left in there for seed money. I don't even know if 50,000 is gonna cover anything. But I'm hoping that I'll get some response back from the state why we were not included in the first mapping round. And then based on that discussion, we can always come back with this information.
I've argued that same point. As you know, the top townships are all in, and included with everybody in Flint and Bay City. Everybody to the south, 32 Mile Road, they're all on a whole different, they're on Comcast or whatever, and that's where our internet's gonna come from. We're on Charter. I don't know why the state did this way back when they divided up the areas, why they would put the top 5 townships of Oakland County all with everybody north. We don't even have the same channels or the same television that we could watch the Oakland Township board meetings, and they don't watch ours because they're 2 different systems. And I don't know why, and then when they included, I think Pauline said, when they included us on this study and everything, they included everybody in Lapeer, but not us. It was like we were
Oakland and
in
Lapeer.
nowhere, yeah.
So I'm trying to get us in with Lapeer.
Yeah, so I mean, we're like in the middle of nowhere, so, yes.
I have a question. I understand the need to allocate and come up with some numbers and at least start talking, but what happens if we don't end up using the money that we're putting down on figures here, in particular, the broadband and the parking lot? Like, do we know we're gonna spend $50,000 on a parking lot, or, like, what happens if we don't spend it all?
Well, I think these are just starting numbers for admin to start working with, and then if we get estimates and we're really far off, we're gonna have to make some more adjustments, or we're gonna have to say, oh, we didn't spend as much as we anticipated, and then reallocate it somewhere else.
So we can do that, we can reallocate if we don't spend it toward, so if we decide not to do anything with broadband, then we've still got 50,000 in the pot.
And then we can put it towards parks or put it towards something else that we might think.
And so the reason to put these numbers, because this is the first time it wasn't in our board pack, so I'm not sure what we're doing with these numbers.
I'm just introducing it, it's open for discussion.
Okay, so we don't get to present this to anybody right now.
There's no action on this?
Well, I'd like some action only in the sense that we need to provide something for what we're thinking of, or we can go on forever and not allocate anything. I mean, we've been discussing this, I don't know how long, gosh, 3 months?
I mean, if we as a board aren't ready to actually say yes to these numbers that the supervisor proposed, I think when the libraries out there, they probably wanna know if they're going to be able to get that money. Jerry's trying to construct his building, so he kinda wants to know. The state has a lot of money coming in, and a lot of it's gonna go for parks. So, from the last meeting I attended, they basically said, we're working on how we're gonna set up the grants. So once that grant window is open, if we're not ready with a plan from our engineers, we're gonna be out of that loop right away. So it is important that we move forward, at least on some of these, so that we have direction, as far as what we're gonna do.
I think they're laid out pretty fair, and they're not written in stone, but it's good working. And if you need a motion to approve your suggested ARPA, ARPA allocations, I'll be happy to make that.
Well, I would like to start that way, get a motion and a second, then we move forward, and then at least we're starting to have a plan, and if you guys wanna,
I'll be happy to make that motion to move forward.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Does that mean that we can actually start using the money and start coming up, let's say, with an agreement?
It sounded to me like in the conversation, let's just use the playground. We've got 128,000. If you came up with 100,000, that means you have some movement with 28,000, you could put it somewhere else, is that correct?
So maybe come back to, is what you're saying, come back to the board before it's
You need to have a forward motion, you have to go do something. Right now, if no one makes a motion to do anything, we're in the same boat we were a month ago.
I'm good with that. I'll
and
support.
I'd like to give the library some,
I would like
you know,
to.
some security in knowing where, because they're at that point where they
Well, if
have
I'm
their.
hearing, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Well, they just took 500,000, what more did these people want?
Well, that was.
Enough to
progression.
build
There
a
you go.
new modern building.
Quick answer.
But if I'm hearing Ed right, so legal suggests that, for the library and Pollyant Trail, we have to come up with an agreement. We can bring back the agreement for the board to approve.
Yeah,
and
of
then-
course, you can't just go spit it.
Right.
But
So
you need-
I'm
After
good.
May 1st.
After May 1st, yeah,
As
after.
reports due April 30th, and I'm saying we didn't spend any money.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, yeah. It won't be before May 1st. So I'm with you on that now. I'm good.
Okay, you can't just
So
take
what's-
money and
what's the
spit it.
motion now?
To move forward.
The motion is to move forward with the numbers that you've got.
And then however you wanna tweak them,
This
we'll
is-
have it for discussion.
Yes, and when you have to spend, where you have to come back to this board for approval for the actual number, that is not in the ARPA fund allocation, then it's like spending 110,000 for the library, we need to come back here with the legals.
And I'll be able to come back with better figures for you as we have some more things on the board meeting here that might help us a little bit.
Now, is there $1.5 million to smooth down Curtis Road?
That's another issue I'll bring up.
That shouldn't mean to bring that up, never mind.
Okay, so we had a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Need a second? Any other discussion on that to move this forward?
I just got a question. This
Yes.
is just a basis, right? And
It's just to get started.
I have one more question. The money for the Pollyant Trail, what are we envisioning it for?
They want to resurface the whole
Oh, the-
trail, okay, and the other townships that are involved, of course, that's Oxford, Orion, and Addison that it goes through. They want to resurface it all, and they have a grant in there, but we have to have matching money. So that's where that's at.
We already know that one's gonna be 30,000.
Yeah,
Will some of that be used in Addison, or is it just gonna be?
Addison. Well, we have the largest
Right.
mileage, so. Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gummo.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on. So this is cemetery ordinance. You know, we're working on the columbariums, where you're gonna have your niches, your cremations put in, and we're working on that. But, so we're gonna have to change some ordinances here, I think they're necessary. We have some discussion points, and I'm gonna bring that up to Pauline, because she runs handles the cemetery. If you all see the new ordinance, different things, and I'll just go through them page by page here. Does everybody see these? They're not numbered, but they're highlighted. Everybody have that in their packet?
How about we go through,
Which
this
one's that?
one's the highlighted on the very top, this is the proposed draft, so that we can work from a proposed draft.
Well, then I'll let you do that. Over there.
Do you have that?
No. I had just this.
Can I see yours? Not that one.
That one?
This one says proposed, so that would be the one, and then we can start on page 1.
Okay, but I don't have any highlighted. Anybody have any highlighted in
That
there?
was, some people like to read that,
Bruce,
but
I'll
in
trade
order
you,
to
Rick.
go
I'll
through-
trade you.
So this, start with that one.
Okay, now. Okay, now the page 1, you see page 1, I don't know if everybody's had a chance, that's this one, yeah, the right one. Yeah. Does anybody on that page, anybody have any questions? That's pretty much just regular ordinances that we've always had, no loitering, no substance abuse, different things like that.
We changed a few words in there, but that was
Okay, number 2, let's go to page 2. The sale of burial spaces. I know we have some issues in our cemetery. We charge $100 a spot, or whatever you want to call it, a burial ground or a site. We charge $100 a piece. We've had some issues there where large numbers of sites have been bought up by residents. And we kind of like to limit them to, so that if the cemetery lasts a little longer, it's going to fill up to two spaces per person who lives in the township.
What section are you in?
That's the second page, and you see 14-7. I mean, these are just some things, that doesn't mean that they're open for discussion. We're just trying to tell you that if we put these columbariums in, and when we have maybe 500 more spots, do we want somebody buying a whole columbarium? Or, I mean, in the past, we've had people buy 36 plots for $100 a piece. So they buy whole sections. And do we want to limit it so that the cemetery can be filled up with a lot of people buying huge numbers of plots? So,
Do they have other townships that have cemeteries, do they limit the number? I'm just curious.
Ours is kind of different because we limit to township residents only. And then same with the columbariums, if we decide to limit it to township residents only, it's gonna be the cost of the columbarium. So the minute that you start raising up the price, then you would probably end up opening it to the public. So that's another decision that we are gonna have to make. It's a small cemetery, it's always been limited to township residents only. So do we want to go, and as Bruce explained, so that's basically 4. And then as each kid matures, you get more. So it's still sufficient for families who reside in Addison Township to put the limit. But a lot of people do buy for extended family, for friends, etc. And it's something that we need to decide. Do we want to continue that practice or limit it to the families who reside here?
yes.
The only thing I'm struggling with in the way this is worded is if somebody had minor children that had passed away, it seems like a husband and wife would be limited to 4 spaces. And I don't know how we could reword this to say, what if they had twins that I guess died at birth?
Is there a variance option?
If it was a minor child that had passed away, they could buy one too.
Could you just put it as immediate family?
Well, and I think we want to get away from
It would
somebody
be hard
to,
to police that, yeah.
or is that something that we can do the exceptions on?
Point well taken, I mean, we can consider an exception or come up with wording for that, but at 4, I mean, what your scenario is still covered.
I guess, I would hate to see a
So-
situation where somebody lost 3 children and
I agree.
didn't, we couldn't sell them a plot.
So maybe an exception, we'd have to think about that. That's what I mean, this is a discussion, so.
So I like the whole idea of all this, you did a great job on getting this rewritten, but that would be my only concern.
What about, people that buy these and then move?
That's a lot of the issue, like where some of the residents are buying for everybody and then they're never used. So it's a burden on the township because then we have to keep expanding. Then there is a provision under state law that after 40 years, you can put a notice in the paper and then take back what you sold. Well, I can just see that as a nightmare. It's like, well, somebody's gonna come and say, "Take my lots." That would be another major undertaking. So by doing this, when you're limiting the actual residents and their purchase, it might not have so many vacancies as there are now.
We do have an issue where people who don't live in the state anymore, and all of a sudden, when they get elderly, they decide they wanna be buried in Lakeville Cemetery, and they have to understand that we, the taxpayers, take care of Lakeville Cemetery, so, so they have to find somebody to buy a plot for them, and we're just trying to make it so that people from all different areas don't just come in here because it's $100, okay?
I'm sure that happens.
So there's consensus to come back with an exception for family, was that a consensus?
Well, you could say that they could buy it for minor children. You could add that right in there.
Well,
Two
but that's
persons.
probably what we're trying to get away from is
Correct.
people buying them initially for their entire family.
And I agree, because most people, the parents will buy their plots there, but the kids, they never want to be buried there. They move out and then go to some other place, so I mean.
I think she's talking about an extenuating circumstance, so I'll work on that wording, because this is not done. This is gonna be coming back to the board, and it still needs to go to the cemetery committee and also legal. So I wanted some input from everybody to see where your ideas were. So
Okay.
page 3.
So we have that, page 3, I think the only difference there is no benches, rocks, or ornamental items other than a flower are allowed.
You're proposing deleting the costs and stuff, is that because it's someplace else, or?
No, Karen, it's easier to change cost by resolution instead of an ordinance. So typically, all of our costs are now based on resolutions. But as far as the cemetery goes, it's always been in the ordinance. So for an example, it would be easier to put the cost for opening and closing, which we already have, for the columbariums on a resolution. So if there is a time in the future where somebody wants to change the rates, they're able to do it by resolution instead of an ordinance.
So do we need to do a resolution if this is gonna be deleted, or you're saying the resolution's already in place for the cost?
There is not a resolution created yet, because I don't know the cost of the columbariums at this time.
But what about for the gravesite? You're proposing to delete for example, well, I think we're on page 3, where it says each full-body gravesite fee shall be $100. So once we delete that, then do we have to propose a resolution?
We're far from deleting it, and if at that time we're ready to adopt an ordinance, if we're still not ready for a columbarium, there will be a resolution to coincide with that $100. But we're very far from that stage now.
Maybe we're missing.
We're gonna delete it from here, and a resolution will be ready at the time that we pass an ordinance.
So what happens in the interim when somebody wants to buy a gravesite? I think
Right now, they're $100.
Right, but you're taking the language out of here, and that's my question, like, where is it written that that's
The
still?
ordinance that's on our books right now is still valid, and then what you want to see is a resolution will come to you at a later date.
Wouldn't it have to coincide with the deletion of this, so you've got it somewhere?
Correct.
That's my question. I think
And
that
that's-
maybe you weren't understanding the question.
I thought I answered it, but yes, by the time this resolution's ready to be adopted, there will be by the time this ordinance is ready to be adopted, there will be a resolution for the board to review.
For the fees,
Correct. And the adoption.
all in one package.
Okay, so the one part about the benches and all, we have had some grave sites that look like Mardi Gras out there, and that become very difficult to mow and weed whip and everything, so we just don't allow that. I see that you have that on there. So what are we going on, page 4 now? That's section 1411. Anything on there?
Well, that's what Linda was bringing up, what happens to the grave sites, which,
So,
when anybody reads that, they can see it's gonna be quite an undertaking.
on page 5. Very simple. Is that it? Anyways, read those over, if anybody has any suggestions. I can foresee when our cemetery is gonna be filled up, and these columbariums are gonna really add an awful lot. But once again, we don't want somebody buying one whole columbarium, so nobody else can be buried there, or shoved in a ditch, whatever they call it. But anyways, it's something we should think about, because the cemetery will be filled up pretty soon. Not in my lifetime, but it will be.
So can I get a consensus that we're okay, except for the one area about if there's extenuating circumstances for a family, and that I can go ahead and have the cemetery auxiliary review it as well as legal? Are we good to take it the next step?
So you're gonna add something that talks about extenuating circumstances, or so what about like a resident with immediate need for them? You know, how people buy them for the future, someday in the future, maybe my kids will want them, versus an immediate need where there's been a tragedy and there's a whole family that, I mean, you're saying extenuating circumstances, I'm not sure.
I need to work on that wording, so that they're not able to come and purchase, as we have 36 and another family purchased 34. There's more, which we didn't have time to research, so we want to stop that, but I can understand what's being said, that if the family has more than 4 in it, you're gonna want to do something for that extenuated circumstances if the children are under 18. So at this moment, I don't have that wording.
Okay, so we'll leave it up to you to come up with something and send it around in a
I would just suggest that
Oh,
it's
this will
gonna,
come back to you a few times.
A few times,
I would suggest under those circumstances that it should be made
necessary.
with the supervisor's approval or something, because we don't always meet when they have a tragedy and they have to be buried, and we don't.
It wouldn't come to the board, it would be, yes,
Yeah.
administrative.
Yeah, so, anyways, check out the wording. Okay, we'll move on to,
Did you want a
Numbers.
motion? I'm sorry.
I just wanted consensus that we were,
well, everybody, I'll just say aye. Everybody who would like a consensus, say aye on this?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, there's your consensus,
Thank you.
okay? We'll move on to number 7, that's authorize for the supervisor, first of all, well, for estimates for the township parking lot resurfacing with the approval of the funds from ARPA. I'm looking at the board, allow me to go out and get 3 estimates of what it will cost to resurface the parking lot and add some parking by the gazebo, so there'll be more parking on each side of that section now, so we can add, I think, about 6 more spots there. I'd also say that, this professional service, so asking to waive the sealed bid procedure, I think that it'd be a benefit for me to get out there. This is the time when you have to get your estimates, because otherwise they're gonna be booked up for any resurfacing or pavement, so.
I've got a question for you. And then you've gotten some, you haven't gone bringing in 3 quotes or anything like that, but you do need to have a open search, because people have to go measure and all that. You got numbers around what, 48,000?
Well, I'm just doing rough estimates. I think that it's gonna be just shy of $50,000 to do the parking lot, but that, I don't have
Would we be fair with you if I made a motion to give you authority to research bids, not to exceed 50,000, put you a limit unless if it goes over that, you have to come back to the board?
well, well, the same company that did the fire department, and the same company that did all the manhole covers and did all of this before in the township, if you want, I can go to them and ask for a bid, because they have been servicing us in the past, okay? And I guess that would be a professional service, you know, but I can still come back. and-
That's who I was thinking about, the people that've done all of our parking lots already. Just,
Well, that's up to the board, if they wanna waive, you know, if you wanna waive purchasing order and let me go to that gentleman or whoever did all of this work out here before, and come back with their bid, I could do that, and then you can decide, the board can decide if they wanna accept that bid or not.
I don't think there's anything wrong with getting a couple different bids. I'm not sure who this company is. I mean, I don't even know how many paving companies there are out there, but as long as we're gonna be able to vote on the number eventually, I say we get a couple bids at least. I understand the waiving of the ceiling of the bids, but.
Yeah, my thing is this is the time you gotta do it, I mean, today doesn't look like it, but
Right.
you do have to get these bids in awfully quick, or else you're gonna, the cost is going up all the time, because it's an oil-based, you know, asphalt.
Is there specs on what you wanna put out for bids?
Yes, I want the parking lot, it has to be ground, okay? I talked to Lori with this, and we have to bring, because we have the manhole covers, you can't raise that, you have to grind it back down, okay? I want the whole parking lot ground, and then I want all the 6 spots put out, they have to be prepped in 6 new spots, and then repaved, okay, the whole thing repaved and striped. That's pretty much it. Because everything is done already, I mean, the slope is there, everything's there for the storm drains, everything, all we're doing is, we have to have it reground, it has to be ground.
So are there cement collar ties, or are you just putting asphalt around the
Asphalt,
storm
it's just
drains?
resurfacing.
Around the storm drains,
Well, no, the storm drains are in cement.
collar ties.
Yeah,
That's what I was
they're all in
asking.
cement, we're just gonna grind down so that when we put the new surface on, that it continues to flow
I
into the
just thought it
storm.
should be spelled out exactly
Yeah.
what you're
Well, that's,
doing.
yeah.
I would just like during this project to consider maybe putting 1 or 2 spaces that are 15-minute parking out front. We have an awful lot of people that are here all day, and people coming in trying to pull a building permit quickly or pay their taxes, or having to truck it in from middle of the parking lot.
Well, that's why I wanna add the other
Which will
6
do.
spots right on the other side there.
Because it gets quite busy and filled up.
Yeah, well, we have a sewing club here, a different thing, they like to unload their sewing machines and stuff, but if I could put those other spots, they would be fine.
just see if I'm correct on this. So if I said, I'd like to make a motion to give you the authority to research 3 bids, bring them back to this board, but they do not necessarily have to be sealed bids, because each individual company is gonna give you their specifications, but you'll be bringing it back to the board. Would that be in a form of a motion that you would need to give authority for you to go out and research at
Yes,
least
you
3?
have to give me the right to waive the sealed bid.
Sealed bid.
Yes.
So that would be the first step, because I don't know, I wouldn't do a sealed bid when everybody's spoken something. So I would make that motion, give you the authority to go out without waiving the sealed bid. Somebody wants to second that? be
Is it
fine.
because it's a professional service?
Yes.
I'll support that.
Any comments on that? Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second on waiving that, so that we can come back with 3 bids and present them to the board then. Okay, can we have a roll call on that, please?
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gardner.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now we're on to,
Isn't Ed gonna make the second part of that
Yes.
stupid process.
And allow Bruce to go out and bring back at least
Put
3
them all in
bids.
one,
That's okay.
Yeah.
and if we do two.
Are we all set?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I make that submission?
What it goes out and gets 3 bids.
Three
Yes.
estimates and bring
Yeah,
back to the
that-
board.
To combine them, to waive the seal bid and to let you go out and get 3 bids.
Do we need 2 separate things? Is that, okay, so.
Oh, okay, that's our supervisor, he's gonna be so technical. And I'd like to make a motion to allow you to go out and get 3 bids, bring them back, at least 3 bids, and bring them back to the board.
Support.
Okay, any comments? Okay, can we have, roll call on that?
I'll
please?
second his motion.
Karen did.
Karen, did you?
Yeah, but that's okay.
She's so,
I'm just
she's
kidding.
so
We're just
far
trying to
down
move it
that we
along.
can't hear her.
I heard Karen.
I heard you.
Linda Garrett,
Yes.
Ed Redfield,
Yes.
Karen Brown.
Yes.
Jacob Newby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, now we'll move on to number 8 here.
This is fun.
This is it.
Number 8, addition to the agenda. This is our PEA group, okay? The state allocated a significant amount of funding for parks, as you know, and I think what we're looking for is to have PEA engineers come out and give us a cost analysis. Am I correct on that, Pauline?
No, they already gave us a cost analysis, so it's $3,900. But what we're gonna have them do, similar to what they did for the cemetery, they're gonna come out and they're gonna do a design, and then we'll bring that design back to the board, so the board can say, yes, this is what we wanna see out there. And then, using his design, because anytime you apply for a grant, you have to have the design ready and set to go. So at this point in time, this is all in our heads, but we need to put this down on paper so that we can apply for the grants. So that's what this is about, and then, so that we don't come back and forth a lot of times with them, I would really like to know, if we replace the equipment that's out there, great, and there's probably room for it to grow this way. There is a large portion of the park that's not developed, and then I would like to see a walking track around the outer edge. So what would you like?
The tennis court inside the
But
track.
is that what we want? Do we want him to put in a tennis court? Do we want a volleyball court? What would we like to see on his plan?
We're all older people, I think
Or
it's
basketball
pickleball court
combination.
now, isn't it? We don't-
I think there's, I think there might only be room for one activity. I mean, if there's room for more than one, you'll do it, but he'll come out and measure.
Yes.
Why couldn't a track be all the way around the entire perimeter?
You want it inside the fence so that if they are with their kids, while the kids are on the swing, they can go, it is gonna be all around the
Oh, okay.
perimeter. And then I'm actually hoping to have another set so that it can go down the hill, but it can't go around the bottom because that'll interrupt with these letters. So it could just go down and then back up maybe, so he'll have to do an outline of that. But what do we want in that extra area?
I think we need to look at the 3 age groups. So we've got the younger kids on the playscape.
Mhm.
We've got older adults from all adult ages on a track.
Mhm.
And then what about volleyball? I mean, that's
Volleyball's a good one.
pretty inexpensive. Kids can use it to play badminton. They can do fake tennis at it. It'd be perfect.
I was wondering if it was a volleyball and it was dug up, if you could put plastic over it and turn it into a ice skating rink in the winter.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know.
I was gonna suggest, since we had such good results with the survey, and I know Pauline was very supportive of the walking track. I kind of feel if we're putting so much money into the Pollyant Trail, why are we spending money on a track here? But so why not put it out on a survey and see what the community would like as far as volleyball net or shuffleboard or pickleball, which I've never played before, but seems very popular.
Because we're gonna miss out on the grants.
But we're putting stuff in and spending $128,000, so we should probably see what the community wants and see what the results are.
I've got a question. Are we getting off base here? I think all Pauline's wanting to know is if we can authorize PEA to do
To design something that we don't even know what we want. We
I
never
know.
talked about what we wanted, so how are we having somebody design what we don't know?
Because by the time he comes back with a design, we're probably gonna say, this is really nice, just like we did with the
And Romeo,
condominiums.
they have a basketball court that's also an ice skating rink for winter. I don't know, maybe you can combine the two things.
That's what I was thinking too, you
And
could
that's,
combine that.
would combine with basketball if you really wanted to do that.
Because I would like to go forward and see, just like with the columbariums. I love talking to people and I love to have the input. We did not have a survey on whether or not we wanted to do columbariums. He did a really good job on that. I think everybody's sold on we need improvement. We also need to have a walking area for the people while their kids are playing. And there's only so much space. We need to decide what we want to do with that other space.
I like the idea of shuffleboard and pickleball, only because I'm older than the rest of you, all right? I think so. But
I mean,
anyways,
we can go older, we can go teens.
then we'll have to up our insurance,
For what?
health insurance. Because everybody on Florida,
Just
which
our
I just came from,
supervisor.
everybody, the first thing they asked at the emergency room, pickleball, was that right? Broken wrist, broken knees, broken, all the elderly people are, they get too serious.
Or
So,
we can let him design what to do with the open space. if we are-
I would suggest that, why don't we let PEA come up with something, and then we can tweak it, okay? Let them come up first of all, with how much land we have
Right,
there,
that's
what
what-
the other communities maybe are doing, they may have already solved this problem, and let them look at it, and then come back, and if we don't like it, then we'll tell them what we want changed and what we want added. So, and then they can put it in there.
I'll make a motion to approve PEA to do a conceptual plan for our park, up to $3,900. And that will come out of the ARPA funds.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, if they do a track that goes all the way down the hill, they've got to come up with some kind of an elevator or escalator to get me back up to the top. Or some way to get me back
Or
up.
we could just leave you down.
Or leave me down there.
You could buy one $100 plot. We could expand this.
Very good, very good.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
You got to. Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Jacob Ruby.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
No,
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, that one passes. Okay, we're on to public forum. Anybody in the public that would like to speak, please come forward. This is where we listen.
Oh, you just listen?
Yeah, we listen. We don't comment on public
Okay.
forum. But go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My name's Rick McConnell. I live at 2950 Valentine. And I just want to bring up the condition of Ray Road and Hosner Road. I mean, right now, it's probably been 10 weeks where we've been calling Oakland County to try and figure out when they're gonna come out and grade. And it was like you said earlier, Bruce, I feel that Oakland County forgot about this little stretch. Obviously, Addison owns half of Ray, and the other half is in Oxford Township. But I think it's to the condition now where you'll have problems with, if there was an emergency and you had to get an ambulance down that road, you're gonna lose time as well as with the sheriff's department too, so. And I feel bad, I didn't realize you guys couldn't comment, you know, that it's just a public forum.
I can comment in the supervisor's report.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I agree with pickleball, and and an ice rink.
And what about my gravesite at the bottom, if I can't leave it?
The funeral plot, they nailed it, Mr. Brady. No, I didn't say that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else in public forum? Thank you, though.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Hi, I'm Brett Ashley. Kind of wanted to start a discussion on the notion of maybe adopting an ordinance, or I live next to somebody that decided to start a grow operation. It's legal. And my concern is the smell. And I talked to the ordinance enforcer, and it sounds like there's not much that can be done. The problem I have is the value of my property if I choose to sell it. You know, if I have family over, it's just not something that I want to smell all the time. I don't have an issue with them doing it within the guidelines that are given, you know, it's just the smell. And I don't know if there's something that can be done. I just wanted to bring that up, food for thought. Maybe you guys can discuss, you know, on a later date.
What's your address?
2737 Lakeville.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else going forward? If you'll wait, I'll discuss that for you. All right.
He's my next door neighbor,
Oh.
practically, and I understand the smell.
Mary, I hope you're not the one.
No, no. I'm Mary Frost, I live at 2700 Lakeville Road. And I'm speaking for the library. I'm very excited that you guys are wanting to give me some money, and I'm having a building meeting and a board meeting tomorrow. So I was wondering, can I tell them that you will be giving us $128,000? Okay, thank you. And the $500,000, we haven't got it yet. But I really appreciate that, and I'm sure they're all gonna be excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to board reports. Anybody on the board that have any reports?
I'll do a quick one. Eagle contacted, and if their funding comes through in the fall, 5 of our gas wells will be sealed. So that made the residents very happy to hear. So hopefully that happens. Pardon?
Which clients?
Didn't really want to say the name out loud, but Energex wells.
Yep.
5 of Energex will be closed.
We have many abandoned wells, and we're trying to get them closed, so
Yes. So
this would be a good start.
I've got a board report too.
Yes.
We have a no-gas collection on April 30th at the Oakland County campus in Pontiac. So if you have like any waste products, hazardous waste like TVs or old prescription pills or paint or a lot of things like that, bring them. You can find the information on the website for Oakland County.
Yeah, hazmat is the one where you can bring the really bad stuff. We can't accept it here. We will have spring cleanup here, but we can't accept the bad stuff. But they do. They take the batteries and the like old oil paint, kerosene, gasoline, that kind of stuff that we can't handle. So it's important. So if you have that stuff, you take it down there and get in line. Anything else? Nothing? Well, we'll move on then to any communications. No communications and no legal reports, so we'll go on to the supervisor's report. I'll just answer, I was at the supervisors meeting, that's where all the supervisors meet in Oakland County today, and yes, this is a big problem. It was addressed, I think there's legislation, they just said that they're gonna possibly change this medical marijuana grow, so that they can only grow for themselves in each house, and not, right now they can grow 72 plants, which is for 5 people. And of course, we know that there's a black market out there that all the excess they're selling out the window. We're very well aware of it. We're trying to stop it, and there is legislation now. A lot of it has to do with the big growers who are the commercial growers that follow the rules, and they have these big warehouses. They're paying taxes and money to the communities, but yet they're being shortchanged because of all these homegrown operations. And on top of that, we're running out of electricity because they're asking for 600 panels where everybody else has 200, and eventually we're going to run out of service for new homes because we don't have the capacity. So it is being addressed. We're keeping our eyes on it because we do have some issues here. I have some illegal grows that got broken into, and the first people they call is the police, and they want us to investigate why somebody stole their product, which wasn't supposed to be there to begin with, okay? So it's costing this township money for illegal operations. So, but every single township is in that same position. We're all,
It's kind of a new problem.
you're 100% right, and it's not it's the marijuana growing that has the pungent smell.
Yeah, we can't even go out in the yard anymore, either one of us.
Well, and what we will do if you come in and file a complaint, we will get them on a nuisance, the smell nuisance. We can write an ordinance, a violation for them. And the other townships gave me some information that what they're doing is they're insisting that they put charcoal filtration systems in, okay? So if you'll come anytime this week and just come and fill out ordinance violation of a smell for nuisance, I'll follow up on that for you, okay?
Bruce, we appreciate that. One more thing I'd like to add is I've called the neighbor today and spoke to him about it. He says he'll have it straightened out by May 1st, so we're gonna give him that opportunity. It seems like he wants to work with us on this. So if he's able to get rid of the smell, we're gonna be fine with it. We may not come and see you, but if we can't get rid of it, we will come see you.
My problem is, though, it also brings crime. Like
Yes, I
said,
agree.
the people that broke in up here were from Detroit. They drove up here, they came up with heavy equipment, they saw the bars, they got into the buildings, and it just brings a criminal element, and we didn't even know what was going on there. So we shouldn't subject our neighbors to that kind of
The
activity.
neighbor doesn't even occupy the home, so it's solely for that purpose.
Okay, and that's another part of the ordinance that they're looking at right now, is that it has to be owner occupied. Okay, so,
Well, it's occupied by his brother presently, but he still owns it. But he's telling us by May 1st, he's gonna get rid of all this, so we're gonna give him that opportunity.
you gonna get rid of the smell or get rid of all the product?
The way he described it to me in a text was he's gonna get rid of the product. That's the way he described it.
My thing, for future reference, because I didn't really buy that, so moving forward for.
I agree
the township,
100%.
Yeah.
I agree 100%, and it's been an issue all throughout the state, and I think the legislation is just now realizing how bad it is, and I think and the professional growers, they're following the rules, they're doing everything right, and they're getting shortchanged by the illegal operation, so maybe it will come about shortly. So it's been introduced already.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Now I got a few other things, roads. You're talking about Ray Road.
Right.
I go up, so far I put 100 and some miles. We don't have a foreman out here right now, okay, since July, so it's almost been a year since we've had a foreman. I call down to the superintendent down, and I get on the phone downtown to Beverly Hills. I'm not very happy about it that we don't have a foreman out here. The road commission tells me it's very hard to hire anybody right now. Nobody apparently wants to work. And, but they said that they're trying to get me a foreman. Like I said, I was using the foreman from Oxford, but he passed away from COVID a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So I don't even have him now, okay? So I go out and I'm on the phone and talking to them downtown as I'm doing the roads. Our problem is the road commission, they haven't done any ditching. You know, the water, we have high banks, we have no ditching. So no matter how much gravel we put on here, and I will tell you that so far we did 43 miles of gravel when I first took office. We re-gravelled all the roads, and every year since 2010, we've done 3 miles every single year. So you know, you're looking at another 33 miles of gravel. We keep putting gravel on here. People say that we don't spend any money, but we do. We're spending almost, I believe, with the tri-party, $100,000 a year on gravel.
Right.
And we're trying, but there's no, we don't have the proper ditching, okay? And I called the road commission, and like I said, I don't have a foreman out here, so I go out. And I show them pictures, and I send them to them, and I say, I can't get an ambulance or a fire truck without breaking the axle, and if I do get to the patient, I'll kill them on the way out, okay? So I'm on it, and if you have any call the road commission, keep calling the road commission. That's the only way we can get service, but you can call here and tell Jamie, and I drive out myself and look, okay?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and I think you know exactly the spot where the main trouble spot is.
Yes.
When we call the road commission, we get there's 780 miles of dirt roads in Oakland County, and the grader's out there, and then it's like, we can't give you a time, but they're gonna get.
Well, I can give you a time, on a rainy day, they'll come out here.
Yeah. Which is bad.
Right now, okay?
Right.
Well, I contacted Mike Spiz.
Pardon?
I contacted our representative, Mike Spiz. Then he contacted Oakland County Road Commission, spoke with somebody. They told him that there's no complaints on Ray Road. They have no written complaints. I've been calling every week for 10 weeks and I'm only one person, so that's not true.
I called down there and told them who I was, and they told me not to call back. And then I told the lady again who I was, and she said, no, you keep calling down here every week, and I have a private number I call. And I said, no, this is the first time I've ever used that number. I think I told you this last time. And I said, no, my name is Bruce Pearson, supervisor from Addison Township. And again, she said, you keep calling down here. I said, no, I've never called this number, and I've never spoken to you because I'm trying to get to the higher up right now. And usually I use their cell phone numbers, but I don't have that particular person, but that's how I get treated too. But then after I reiterated again, I finally got through, and she apologized, but that's how I'm treated too, so.
They won't give us anybody higher than the girl who answers the phone. And shame on them for allowing her to be treated. I mean, I'm nice. There's gotta be a lot of people who are not nice.
I agree, and all they do is pass it on. And the last thing I heard was, well, the township doesn't put any gravel on the road. And then I heard, well, the township doesn't do this, and the township doesn't do. We don't own a single road here, okay? Back in 1935, all the roads were taken away from the townships and put under the control of the road commission in all townships. The road commission controls all of the rural roads out here, okay? If I put a piece of equipment on, they tell me that they will arrest me, okay? Because I don't have the right to put a piece of equipment on. Otherwise, I'd be contracting on the bad days, because I have some road graders in this town that I could put out there and fix the problem, but
Right.
I'm not allowed to.
Well,
So,
thank you, yeah.
anyways, that's the issues.
Do you get a lot of calls into the township here?
Yes, we tell people that Jamie, my deputy supervisor, tells me, and I go out and I look, okay, and
Yeah.
then I call also, and I have some private numbers that I can call, and I usually get some kind of response, but within the next day. But you have to call the road commission, okay, because they need to get, they log, because when I go to the big meetings with the road commission, they say, we have no complaints whatsoever from Addison Township. That's because everybody calls here.
Yeah.
Okay, but if they call the road commission also, when I go to the meeting, I say, now, you had 2,000 calls from Addison Township residents, and so you're not doing your job, okay?
Right.
So.
No, we get the recordings that says, first off, your taxes don't go to the roads, it comes from the state. I swear it's right in the recording, so we call them, but no, we appreciate it.
But your taxes due from the gas pump.
Yeah, from the gas pump.
They go
exactly.
there, so
Yeah.
you deserve as much.
And the marijuana grow, whatever, where that money goes.
There's only one other thing, I think I answered the two that, and you know, we pay for the chloriding completely, and the reason I did is because that protects the gravel and holds the binding
Keeps it
together. And so we have done measures, we're spending a lot of money on making sure all the roads are chlorided. But anyways,
Okay.
there's just one other thing I'd like to say is, I paid our respects for Addison Township to Joan Fogler, who was the supervisor of Oakland Township. She passed away April 1st, and I just wanted to let everybody know that she was a great lady. She was a deputy supervisor. If you know Fogler Farms, she's all associated. She was a deputy supervisor under Joan Buser, who was the supervisor. She was a wonderful person, and she worked there at Oakland Township for many, many years and became the township supervisor. And I worked with her many times. And one time I was at a economic meeting up at the casino in Mount Clemens. The real meeting was, of course, at the university there, but at night we went to our own classes at the casino. And I started out with $20 playing craps. And Joan was next to me along with many other township supervisors, and I got up to $1,000. And when I got up to $1,000, she grabbed me by the ear and pulled me out of the casino and said, "You're gonna give it all back otherwise." So I thank her for that. So that was just a little just there. Otherwise, I'm ready for a motion for adjournment.
Also move.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much. A long meeting. So
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas?